realistic fiction is. Realistic fiction is the genre that consists of stories that have characters that live in believable settings. Their stories resemble real life, and the fictional characters within these stories react similarly to real people.
So, the characteristics for realistic fiction are normally about the characters, the plot, the themes, and the setting. So, for characters, the characters are normally made up, and sometimes they can be based off on someone that the author knows. But either way, these characters will behave in a realistic way, and then characters are also dealing with real life conflicts. This can be such as this can be racism, divorce, friendship, grief, and so on. And then the plot will be talked about later in the slideshow. But once again, it's just the characters are actually dealing with real life problems. And then moving on to the themes. Once again, these are real life issues or experiences that humans can go through and will go through. So students can put themselves in the character's shoes and understand and learn what are different issues that people go through. Some of the themes could be discrimination, police brutality, and loss of friendships. Lastly, the setting is normally placed in present time of when the book was written. And although the places can be real, such as like the schools, the city, or the town, they can also be made up. But either way, these places are described in detail for the readers to be able to visualize where it is happening.
Texture, structure, and plot structure. Readers are understanding the issues. Conflicts are real, where students connect or understand. Revolve around a real life problem or conflict. Conflicts are resolved in a realistic way that makes sense.
Our key vocabulary is protagonist, which is the leading character or one of the major characters in a drama, movie, novel, or other fictional text. The second vocabulary is antagonist, which is a person who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something, an adversary. Theme. It pertains to the critical belief or message that the author wants to convey to readers.
So the next few slides will have examples from K to 12th of realistic fiction, and we are focusing on the social and emotional changes. So as you're listening to all of the examples for each of the grades, pay attention to what themes or what is being talked about in the class or in those grades, because as students are growing and they're going to different grades, there is themes that are changing, and there's even some heavier themes depending on their ages.
Here are my text examples through grades kindergarten through third. For kindergarten, I have the book Aggie the Brave. Aggie the dog must go to the vet to get spayed, stay overnight, and then recover at home. This teaches the children the process at the vet and teaches children that a cone must be worn post-surgery. For first grade, I have Meet Yasmin. This book tells the four stories from Yasmin's life. The story represents Yasmin as a creative problem solver even when things get tough. Her Pakistani American culture is shown throughout the story, such as the food her family eats. For second grade, I have The Year of the Book. Growing up can be challenging, and this shows Annie turning to books for company as she is learning to make friendships in real life. For third grade, I have Shelter Pet Squad. A little girl has to bring her guinea pig to animal shelter because she is moving and our apartment does not allow pets. A worker at the animal shelter promises the girl that she'll find the guinea pig a good home. The Shelter Pet Squad work together to find the perfect home, which is a kindergarten classroom.
Text examples. Grades 4th through 6th. For 4th grade, you can read them One Crazy Summer. It focuses on blame and how to overcome betrayal, so it's a good realistic text showing betrayal. For 5th grade, A Long Walk to Water is great to express relief from attacks. And for 6th grade, Fighting Words focus on healing and resilience, strength, love, and hope. So all of these three books is great for older elementary to beginning 6th graders.
So I'll be focusing on grades 7th to ninth. As you can see, some of the themes here do overlap with some of the other books in this specific grade level, but they're also overlap with some of the other grade levels. And there is also themes that are a little bit harsher, and which then the books will also have a slightly harsher content. So then these books would be for older students. The first book, Roll With It, is for grades 6th to 8th. It focuses on Ella, who has cerebral palsy, and when her grandpa's Alzheimer's is getting worse, her mother decides to move to be able to help her grandparents. So Ella is facing not only a new town and a new school, but also being a new student with a disability. Some possible themes would be differences, family, and friendship. The next book, Waiting for Normal, is once again grades 6th to 8th. This book focuses on how Addie is living with her mom, who's bipolar, and Addie is waiting for her normal. The themes for this could be family or mental health. The third book, From the Desk of Zoe Washington, once again 6th to 8th grade, focuses on Zoe when she receives a letter from her father, who's in jail, stating that he has never committed the crime that he's in jail for, and she's unsure of what to respond back because he has never written to her before and because of the statement of him never committing that crime. Possible themes are family and never giving up. The fourth book, Just Pretend, is for 7th and up. Focuses on Tori, who has always been back and forth between her parents' house after they got a divorce, and then while dealing with this back and forth of her parents' homes, she's also dealing with friendships. Possible themes could be family, divorce, and friendship. St. Ivy, Kind at All Costs, is the next book, which would also be for 7th and up. Focuses on Ivy, who has always been a very kind person and who 100% supports those around her. And when her mom comes up with the idea of being a surrogate for her best friend, Ivy wants to be supportive and she wants to be kind about it. But when her mom actually gets pregnant, she comes into this reality that this is happening and that she's also worried about the judgment from others. Possible themes could be family, identity, and friendship. The next book, The Hate You Give, would be for 9th and up. This book focuses on Star, 16-year-old girl who witnesses her friend get shot by a police officer. Possible themes, racism, and police brutality. The last book, Don't Ask Me Where I'm From, again, 9th and up. This book focuses on Liliana, whose father enrolled her into a school before leaving for his trip. And Liliana has somewhat of a culture shock from going from a school that has minorities and going to a school that's mainly white people. So Liliana tries her best to assimilate and to fit in and to fit those expectations that her new school has for her. And while she's dealing with this, she finds out that her dad is actually not on a trip, but he's actually been deported. Possible themes are family, identity, and deportation.
Next is grade 10 through 12, and for 10th grade, I have chosen Paper Towns, which is a book that mainly focuses on young love. The possible theme of this book is friendship. For 11th grade, I have The Hate List, which focuses on the possible effects of bullying in schools, and the possible themes of this book are bullying as well as hatred. Lastly, for 12th grade, the book is You'd Be Home Now, which focuses on drug abuse in young adults. And the possible theme is loving each other for who you are.
Realistic fiction classroom activities. I found 5 activities you could do in your classroom to teach realistic fiction. For starters, they could create their own short realistic fiction story. So you got power of all creativity and all they want to do with it as long as it sticks to the realism of life. Second, they have like a realistic fiction writing prompt. Like for example, okay, this kid went up to space. Okay, what more can they add to that story to make it more realistic? And also, they could do a storyboard of real life problems and how you could solve it in solutions like logical way in life. And fourthly, they could create realistic characters with different emotions, like realistic emotions, like hey, this person's sad, this person's angry. And also they could talk about or create stories about where crucial issues social issues rise, like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ community, and all sorts of things, or even gas prices.
So this is the possible quiz questions that you could have for realistic fiction. So the first one is, what is realistic fiction? Number 2 is, what are some of the key vocabulary? Number 3 is defining that vocabulary from question number 2. 4, what are at least 3 of the characteristics? And 5, what are at least 2 text plot structure that are included in realistic fiction? And some of these questions could be more specific. For example, if you're doing a novel unit, or if you're doing a read aloud, there is some questions that could be more specific to that book. So for example, number 4, instead of only listing the characteristics, finding those examples in a book that you're reading as a class. So these questions can be very general or very specific.